Guys, we are here with Deonna Purrazzo. You've seen her on Smackdown Live. You've seen her on Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, Stardom, NXT, a little bit of everywhere. Deonna, where are they going to see you next? Dancing with the Stars?
Maybe. I hope so. Next, I will be debuting for Rise and Shimmer.
Nice. How's that going to work? When does that happen?
So that is not this weekend, but the following weekend. So July 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Nice, nice. So we talked a little bit about, or I mentioned that they've seen you on NXT and SmackDown Live. You were a part of the angle that launched La Luchadora. Now,
Yes.
how many tweets did you get accusing you of being La Luchadora during that period?
I mean, I still get tweets about it, or if people come up and meet me, ask me about it. So, countless. I couldn't tell you how much.
Were you ever under the hood?
I don't know. No,
Oh.
it was revealed to be Mickey James, so I don't know who it was.
Well, we'll just trust that it was her. Many may know, many may not know that you actually went through a WWE tryout at one point. What was that process like for you?
I think it was a bit of a weird situation for me because I had already worked NXT quite a few times before I had been given a tryout. So I knew a lot of the coaches and the trainers and a lot of the superstars that run the camp and help out with it. So it was a unique situation because I kind of felt, I don't want to say comfortable, but I didn't really have anything to prove because they had seen everything that I had had. You know what I mean? I think it was a bit more of like a formality than anything because I had been on their programming for months straight at that point.
Who's the person that reaches out to you to say, "Hey, we like you. We're gonna give you a tryout." Do you hear about that like when you're in town for NXT, or does somebody give you a call?
For me, it happened. I wrestled Nia Jax on NXT my very first time, and right after they were like, "Hey, we're gonna give you a tryout. You should receive information in the next few weeks." So it kind of happened in person for me. But I think typically you'd get like an email saying we invite you. Stay tuned for a formal invitation. But for me, it was just kind of like, you're gonna do this.
I've had some people that would tell me that it's the most grueling thing they've ever been through. We've got Matt Riddle who said that it was second nature to him. How did you feel during that? Because I've seen them live, the tryouts, and they want to test you. They want to make sure that you're not going to blow up.
Yeah. I think coming in as a wrestler, it's kind of, at least my opinion on it was, if I could make it through the first month of wrestling training, you can make it through that. But it's not as much physical as it is mental. And for me, a lot of like the cardio drills and the blow up drills, I just kept trying to tell myself, like, you wrestled an hour in front of Rip Rogers, you've done this, you've done that, like, you could get through this. So mentally, I think it's more challenging than it is physically. But I will say that I came out of it with such a respect for people who aren't wrestlers and have this opportunity and take it head on because, a flip bump is second nature to a wrestler, but, as a 6'6", 260-pound NFL linebacker, you know what I mean? That's not something you would ever do in your life. So I think for people who aren't wrestlers that have a goal of becoming a WWE superstar and this is their way in, I think it's a lot more grueling.
I remember Taz telling me once that if he's at the supermarket and if he slips on milk, he's going to fall and he's going to be okay, while an NFL player might not be, just because he knows how to take care of himself. I know you're not allowed to reveal to us if you're going to be in the Mae Young Classic, but what are your thoughts on WWE running a tournament like that? They're going all in.
Yeah, I think it's such a great moment in women's wrestling, and I'm so excited, whether I'm a part of it or not, to see women get that opportunity. I think we've worked really hard the last few years and even beyond that, just to get women to where we are today and give us this platform. So I think it's really, really awesome that WWE is just embracing it full on, and they're going to give 32 women the best opportunity that they can be given.
What do you think of Mae Young being given the distinction of having the tournament named after her? A lot of times, I don't want to say lived in the shadows of Moolah, but Moolah is a lot of times the first person you think of. And then even more recently, they romanticize Trish Stratus and Lita and what they did for women in the WWE. But Mae Young getting a lot of love.
Yeah, I think it's great because they're covering a lot more history than that's been covered prior. And I think they're shining a really great light on a really great person. So I'm really, really happy.
Now, Deonna, you're incredibly young, and we always have people asking, like, they'll send in stuff to our contact form, like, how do we get involved in wrestling? How did you get involved in wrestling, and at such a young age?
I grew up watching wrestling, and I watched it with my brother since I was 9. So as soon as I saw women, I knew that one day I would want to partake in wrestling, and I thought, if they could do that, I could do that. I could be good at that one day, I think. And as soon as I turned 18, I got a part-time job. I graduated high school, and I went to a wrestling school. That was the first thing I wanted to do before anything. So I kind of started as early as you can here, and yeah.
There's one thing I've noticed about you in particular since like I've had you on social media and stuff. In addition to training with Damien, you're training with Rip Rogers. You're involved with the Monster Factory and some of those people as well. You're going over to Japan. You're dipping your toes in a little bit of everything. Was that something that maybe your trainer instilled in you, or something that you knew straight off the bat you wanted to do?
I think straight off the bat, I kind of wanted to do that. Never in my mind could I have fathomed, like, oh, you would work for WWE and Ring of Honor and TNA all in 2 weeks. Like, that was never a goal of mine that I thought could ever be possible. And growing up, I was a WWE fan. I didn't know much about Ring of Honor or TNA. And I just knew Japan was where the best people went to wrestle. So Japan was always a goal of mine. And it started more so once I got involved with wrestling and with Damien and Rip, just pushing me to learn every aspect of wrestling, to be able to adapt anywhere and use my training no matter what situation I'm in. So I think as I started wrestling and as I started to grow as a wrestler, that more came natural to me, to just want to be involved in whatever I could be involved in.
You wrote actually for us a little bit about your experience in Japan. What was that like? Are you heading back over there anytime soon?
Hopefully. I think either by the end of the year or in the new year that I'll be able to get back with Stardom. But like I said, it was always a goal of mine. I had every book about wrestling and every DVD and every magazine, and the people that inspired me the most were people who had been able to say that they went to Japan. So in my mind, it was always like, if you're a good wrestler and you know your craft, and you went to Japan and you learned and you trained. So to be able to get that opportunity so early on in my career was just an amazing feeling, and I jumped at that opportunity. There was no doubt that I was going to go because it was something that I always wanted to do. So the more that I could go back, the better at this point.
Were there any like cultural hurdles there? I mean, you're in Japan. I assume you don't speak Japanese.
I don't.
So what kind of culture shock was that?
I think, like, as a foreigner going in with Stardom, a lot's taken care of for you. And a lot of the girls, when I had first gotten there, I was there with Viper and Kaylee Ray, and those two have toured with Stardom quite a bit. So the culture shock wasn't as prominent for me because I had girls that could teach me the train system or taught me the little bit of Japanese I needed to know to get by. It wasn't just me immersing myself into this. I had people that were willing to help me. But the more that I stayed, the more I realized, like, women are so submissive there, and, like, people just walk into you if you stop moving at the train station, or, they expect women to move out of the way for men. So things like that it's not like that here, and everyone just moves for everyone, and things like that really, like, there was one point that I was just like, oh my god, I don't know how anyone deals with this, because I was just getting, like, trampled in the train station. But besides that, like, that was probably the only moment that I was like, oh god, I can't do this. Everything else was, I had a lot of help and a lot of support with good friends.
I saw that you also teamed with Shayna Baszler over there.
Yes, I did quite a lot.
Former UFC star. Did like you girls do training together, anything like that?
Yeah, so Stardom has us in a dojo 3 days a week. And what was really cool was the senpais who run training let Shayna train quite a bit. So we got to learn a bit more MMA style things, or just a lot of the conditioning that Shayna does at her gym at home. So more than just learning from her in a technical aspect of pro wrestling, we got to do a lot of MMA inspired things. So that was fun.
Yeah, I know that her trainer, Billy Robinson, is really highly regarded over there. So I figured that would be a simple transition for her. Now, the thing that I always ask anybody who has spent any extended period of time with Rip Rogers, do you have any crazy-ass Rip Rogers stories? And it's been over a year since I've asked you this question,
Yeah.
so I get the feeling that the last answer probably isn't the best answer.
I honestly couldn't remember what my last answer was. And I haven't seen him in quite a long time, but I'm trying to think.
That doesn't keep anybody from having crazy ass Rip Rogers stories. Though those can happen remotely.
Yeah, I think. I'm trying to think now. I mean, for me, he's always been really crazy. And the craziest thing was I got to wrestle Mike Mondo for an hour, and that was the first time that I had met Rip. And he was like, "So Deonna's gonna go an hour, and this is Mike Mondo, and you two can get in the ring, ring the bell." And it was not like I didn't have a moment to be like, what? You know what I mean? I think I had been wrestling I had maybe 8 or 9 matches live. Like, I didn't know how to wrestle for an hour, but he just kind of threw me to the wolves, and he is just crazy.
How'd it work out for you? That Mike Mondo, a former WWE Tag Team Champion, also appeared on Smackdown last year. But you're in there for an hour early on, and he does that. Like, all of his students go an hour. It's like mandatory.
Yeah. It was crazy at first because I was like, I don't even know what half of these things that he's calling are, But Mike is just amazing, and if I didn't know what it was, he could get himself in it or do something else at a moment's notice where I'm like, I don't know. And about 20 minutes in, I remember thinking well, if I just die, then it's over, and I don't have to do this anymore, and it's so okay. Just die. But you get a second wind, and it was a really great accomplishment for me, and Mike and I are really great friends now, so it's funny to be able to look back and see where I was then and kind of see my growth and my progression.
So as we wrap up this conversation, people have seen you everywhere. You've been all over the place. Would you have expected to have been all the places you've been already? I mean, you just had, your 23rd birthday earlier this month, right?
Yes. No, not at all. To be completely honest, I don't know. It was never, when I decided I was going to become a professional wrestler, it was never an option whether I could be successful or not, because I believed in myself from day one that this is something I could do. I could be good at this, and but how fast it happened, and I just believe everything happens for a reason, and I've been placed in a lot of really good situations with a lot of really good people to help me and guide me along the way. So it's not something that I've done myself. I've had not even just Damien and Rip, but so many other people vouch for me and help me to become who I am today and to be as successful as I am today. So it's just kind of mind-blowing to think in December will be 5 years since I started training, but I feel like I've been doing this forever.
Deonna Purrazzo, I want to thank you so much for joining me. When are they going to get a Dancing Queen pro wrestling t-shirt?
They better get on it too, and that's why I keep putting out those videos.
We fully expect to see it. Where can they follow you on social media?
Everyone can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Deonna Purrazzo.
Deonna, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it so much.